Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Brand Power Analysis. Today I have on
Cuoco Black. Let me pronounce that again. Cuoco Black. It's a nice Italian name, but I have to pronounce it because it's a little tricky phonetically and also spelling wise. So
yeah, I let you kind of say that because I didn't want to butcher your name coming on to the podcast. So let's start off by just telling everyone a little bit about yourself, your journey into the industry of gyms, and where you're at now.
Well, actually, you should tell them what I do. I don't think you mentioned what I do, actually.
Yeah, you develop gym, we'll just say gym experiences. How does that work?
That's a good way to say it. Hi. Hello, followers. I just wanted to thank everybody for, listening to our podcast here. Basically, I'm a gym designer. I was a former bodybuilder living in New York City, and I studied design in a design school in New York City. And when I started training bodybuilding in the gyms, I recognized that gym designs, this was, a good 15, 20 years ago, gym designs weren't that innovative as a designer. So I said, maybe I could start marketing myself as a designer, since I'm also a bodybuilder, to the fitness industry. And that's kind of how I got the start. I was actually in a crunch gym where I started training. And my first customer was a Crunch. Crunch came to me to design their corporate headquarters their flagship gym in Union Square in New York City. And I got a taste for designing gyms, and I really loved it. I abandoned and rejected the hotel hospitality industry that I was in, and I went into the fitness industry because I love sports and fitness and health, and I love the whole industry and sort of the mindset of the people in it. So that's how I got my start. I was a designer, a bodybuilder, and then I said, why don't I combine the two and become a gym designer, bodybuilder guy? And that's how I started.
Beautiful. Well, we really try to promote on here the power of grit and perseverance. And so, and especially within the athletic community. And so I'd love to hear some of your challenges that you had to overcome. I mean, I know you said you went in and you were working out at Crunch, and then you just got this corporate gig. So not corporate gig, but, help them with their experience. And so why don't you explain a little bit about some of those overcoming challenges that you had to overcome to get to where to even get that first big client?
Yeah, it's interesting because, this is true for all of us in whatever professions we have, sales, management, ownership, whatever it is. We have to overcome the noise, and we have to build our brands, and you have to persevere. It doesn't happen right away. I was fortunate in the sense that Crunch was at the time a very edgy brand. And so my type of work wasn't conventional gym design. I was more sort of innovative and artistic. And so it was a good fit for Crunch at the time, developing their gym. But as I started to market and try to move and migrate further, deeper, drill down into the fitness industry, I ran into a lot of resistance. And the resistance was coming from the status quo. The whole fitness industry still is entrenched in what I call gym better sameness. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's pretty obvious. If you look around, you can tell what a gym looks like. You can see the legacy gyms, the muscle gyms, they all kind of still look the same like they were 40 years ago. And then you have what's called the boutique design gyms, the gyms that look like boutique hotels. I mean, how many times can you keep building these same types of gyms? And then the other one that people do is the amusement arcade. Throw color changing lighting in your gym and call it a day. And so what ended up happening was I was trying to do something different than what all these other gym brands were doing. And I met resistance from what I call the fiefdom. A fiefdom, if you know, is like the king owns the castle, he runs the land, and he gives the job to his brother-in-law, and he gives this province to his cousin. And so what happens is there was this productive old, old school network, good old boys club. And it was the fitness suppliers, the equipment suppliers were the same guys that work with the same gym architects in the same editorial people. And it was this whole clique of all these people in the fitness industry. And when I was trying to get in, I couldn't break down any doors. And so what I ended up doing was really interesting. Everybody knows Shark Tank. I took sort of a philosophy from Barbara Corcoran, who's the real estate mogul. And I recall her speaking, saying that she also, and this goes back to your question, Zach, that she also tried to break in and grow her brand and business in the real estate industry, and she couldn't break in because it was the good old boys club. So what did she do? The advice that I did is she jumped over everybody. And that's what I decided to do. Instead of trying to pander to the industry, to the editorial, make friends and offer commissions to the equipment suppliers if you get me a job, that whole scheme, I decided to reject it, and I jumped over it. And what I started to do is I started marketing myself as somebody that could help gym owners do something different than everybody else was doing. And when I started getting that message out is where I started getting traction.
So what I hear is you really worked really focused in on more so your value proposition towards a certain niche, instead of just following the trend. It's funny. It seems like what you're doing for these gyms is very similar to how you're reaching out to how you're helping these gyms. Is you're helping, them develop a good experience, and you're trying to break the mold of all these other gym companies out there that just say, oh, hey, design your gym like this and go off of like you said, go off of the suppliers, go off of the manufacturers and just partner with them and you're good to go.
Yeah. What ended up happening is I had to develop my business model, my mission statement. And when I grasped what was happening in the industry, I knew I had to create my own lane. And so what I did is, they call this blue ocean marketing, is that you create a business model where there's a lot of opportunity to do something different than everybody else doing the same thing. And sort of that was my message. Not only my message, it was my strategy. It's how I approach gym design. So one of the ways you start by doing this, and let me just go back into this, is, as I said, I want to make it clear to everybody that I'm an academic. I used to teach design. So what I did is I studied the fitness industry and I looked globally at what everybody was doing in the realm of gym design. Now, at one time it wasn't important, but now it's important with social media. Everybody's looking at gym design on the internet and building their brands. So again, I want to emphasize the three styles that everybody is doing. Is they're doing the legacy gyms, the muscle gyms that look like muscle gyms. It's the green AstroTurf and the Home Depot lighting and the motivational slogans on the walls. That's one category that people
everywhere.
that people keep building. And that can overlap into the franchises, because there's a lot of gym franchises that mini do that. So you've got the big guys who do 25 and 50,000 square foot clubs that look like gyms. And then you got little franchises that do the same thing, your little circuits. That's fine. Okay, so that's one category. And what I'm trying to help your listeners to understand is that if you're following any of these three styles, you're part of the style. You're not your own unique brand. And so what I'm trying to do is help your readers look, when they look at the industry, what are you looking at? Muscle gyms, traditional gyms, legacy gyms. The next thing is the Equinox. All beautiful, but everybody's taking aesthetics from the hospitality industry, boutique hotels, taking lighting, tufted sofas, wood walls, stone, and making these sexy gyms. And all they've done is they've taken the design aesthetics from the hospitality industry, put it in their reception area, and then they add fitness equipment and say, oh, we're a luxury brand. Okay, that's fine, but everybody's doing that. And then the third one, I'm passionate about this because I really have my pulse on this. The third one is the color changing lighting. David Barton did this really well years ago. He came in with color changing lighting. I'm telling you, that's all you're seeing is color changing lighting in a gym, changes color, nothing related to anything innovative. It's just color changing lighting. So where I'm going with this is what I try to do is help the developers that I'm working with. I show them the pictures of this and I say, you've got to do something different. And what you need to do is you need to do what I call is a competitive gym design analysis. So Zach, we talked a little bit about this. What we do if we have a developer we're working with, we go and we look at their marketplace competitors. It's all there. All the three things, it's one of the three or two or three or four. It's all the same thing. So what happens is when you do a competitive gym design analysis, you can see your break point where you can pivot away and come up with a concept that nobody else is doing, which gives you you're the only one in the marketplace that looks like that.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this a little bit because I think that we do something we're in very similar niches, if that makes sense, but we do different things. Like we work more on the internal branding and how to do that same experience offline, how we do it online. But we kind of try to cohesiveness with what they're doing internally, like with what you do. And we talked a lot about analysis and creating some sort of competitor analysis. And I feel like just in our industry in general of being agencies and being consultants, that a lot of people miss that. A lot of them miss the importance of, hey, we need to really look at your competitors if we want to make you unique and better. They just kind of say, oh no, just move along with it.
Yeah, well, the question is why do you want to do what everyone else is doing? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so what you're talking about is sort of the digital, social sort of aspects of developing a brand in the marketplace, mm-hmm. being differentiated. I mean, it's really important because what's happened now with social media is the design element at one time wasn't as important, but now what has to happen is all this has to merge together. That your entire brand platform, your digital positioning, your sales staff, your programming, your interior design, all these things have to segue and help you become a marketplace differentiator. So,
and I think it's funny that because I don't think a lot of people understand, especially when branding and you giving a gym experience, it doesn't just help. I mean, the end goal for both of what we do is we need to look at the customer, right? We need to like, what kind of customer do you want to bring in? And how do you bring them the best value as possible? Create them a gym experience that they love coming to. In reality, helps motivate them to work out or motivate them to take those steps that they want to take, not just throwing up some slogan and saying, oh, hey, here, do this. I mean, there's nothing wrong with slogans if done in the right way, but I think it's funny because it doesn't just help that, but it also helps employee and not just retention from clients, but retention from employee brand values. Because don't you want the trainers to come in and also love coming into the gym every day and, wanting to work there? I mean, how do you kind of go along those aspects when you're kind of thinking about the analysis?
Well, that's a great point. And I've talked about this before, is that when a brand reaches out to us and the sales staff finds out that we're potentially on the project, the sales staff get excited. They're saying, because what we're doing is we're creating this experience. I like to develop what I call destination gyms, like really like, whoa, theatrical, like, wow, this is really cool stuff. I never seen a gym like this before. And so when the trainers and the sales staff find out that possibly we might be in on the project, they get excited because what's happening is it's giving them, they know that they have a positioning against their competitors that they can market against the club, the design. And if the owner can get the right business model in there and the right sales staff and bring that all together, again, this is all about retaining your staff, retaining the members. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to build, I guess, brand loyalty. Mm-hmm. So, how do you do that? Well, you have to have like a really different gym than everybody else, because if you're just another franchise or a legacy gym, you're doing the same thing. You have a trainer that you like, so he moves to that gym, you go to that gym. So, and I've been on the inside of this. So I guess what I'm saying here, it's really is about creating the experience, that the members and the staff really believe in the brand. And I've been told more than once, I have a client in Massachusetts. He said a customer, a prospect walked in. He goes, I feel like I'm in a spaceship. And the gym owner said, please, go out and see my competitors. He says, I don't need to see any of your competitors. And he goes, I can tell this is the place for me. So this is what we're trying to do, is trying to create these environments that when the people are in there, they're motivated, excited. It's like fun to train in sort of the gyms. And you can refer people to what we do, I guess, further on in the podcast, so they can get an idea of the types of things that we're doing. So we're trying to create, again, experiences, exciting, motivational, theatrical, dramatic, fun experiences.
Yeah, why don't you just get into it now? I mean, while we're already on the subject, why don't you just kind of go in a little bit more on what you do exactly? I know it's hard because a lot of what we both do is it's very hard to track and all that nifty stuff. But why don't you kind of go in on some knowledge on us and let us know a little bit about yourself a little bit more?
Well, one of the things, coming out of New York City, I was trained in New York City, and I lived in New York City, but I also had the opportunity to travel to Paris. I worked in Paris. I was designing in Paris. And when an American designer goes to Paris and you see what they're doing over there, it's just an amazing elevation of the potential of what is possible for design. And so I took that experience in Paris, brought it back with me, and I apply that. I'm Italian. I'm sort of in touch with my cultural DNA. So there's a cultural sort of tie-in to what I do. It comes instinctively. So what we try to do is when a developer comes to us and they want to do a concept, we ask them, well, what's your inspiration? What's your idea? What you want the gym to look like? 50% of the people that come to us have an idea. For example, let me see if I can pivot my screen. I can't see up here. Yeah, you can see some of my projects up above me up here. The blue gym in the middle and on top, that was in Boca Raton, Florida. The idea behind developing a gym concept is to have an idea, an inspiration. So for example, we took the movie Disney's Tron Legacy, and we designed the whole gym around the concept of the movie Tron Legacy, the colors, the lighting, the architectural elements. And then when you walk in, it's not a muscle gym or a boutique gym or a gym with color changing lighting. It's an experience. And so most of what we recommend gym owners do is have a concept. And then what we do is we try to integrate the lighting, the design, the colors, the architectural elements, the feeling of the design into the gym environment. We actually build and design the gym to be inspired for, in this case, a Hollywood movie. But that's a recurring theme. We've done other gyms that have been inspired by Hollywood movies. And that's why they stand out in the marketplace, because it doesn't look like the other three trends that I was telling you about.
Yeah. It's basically positioning, you're helping gyms position themselves into a direction that is needed. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's very similar to what we do from the different perspectives of the value you bring to gyms is, if you think about it in basic terms, I mean, I think every business does this. The goal is bring value to your customer. And so you being able to, the gym owners that you work with, being able to look at it in aspects of, hey, I want our customers that come here and work out to feel motivated to come in here and work out. Oh, I have to go to the gym today. And yeah, those other concepts, I think really just are like, let's make the gym look good. And they don't really think about positioning themselves in a way that really gets you motivated. I mean, I know if I went to the Tron gym, if I flew out to Florida, that's the first thing that I'd want to do, right? Is going to do a one-way, and I'd feel when I'm there like, oh, I want to be here. I want to be in this location. It's motivating me to work out. And so back to the short version here is, you help retention. And I think that that's really what it comes down to. It's like you kind of say, hey, we're helping them bring value to their customers who want to feel motivated to work out, which is just going to help everybody, you know?
Yeah, I have a great story. Let's call it an analogy, and we could look at, for example, Apple. I was following a gentleman by the name of Guy Kawasaki. Guy Kawasaki was tech evangelist for Steve Jobs twice. He did a podcast, anybody can look it up, and he talks about design. And he says design matters. And a perfect example was the MP3 player. So in 1997, the consumer electronics industry came out with what was called the MP3 player. I think you could strap it to your arm. There were Walkmans, and it was a digital music device. It was the first generation, and Sony was doing that, and Motorola was doing that. Ericsson, these different electronics consumer firms were doing that. That was 1997. Apple came out with the iPod in 2003. So what's that, 5 years later? And the little iPod 3 was this little rectangular.
I remember I had one of those. The first one.
Yeah, they were beautiful colors. They were really streamlined, a nice, simple interface with the dial, beautiful anodized metallic colors.
The nanos, right?
Right. Yeah, and that was 2003. By 2007, Apple owned 75% of the digital marketplace. 75 displaced everybody. I don't know how many billions it was. You can look it up. And all the MP3 players that everyone was building went onto eBay and went into desk drawers. So what's the analogy? Is design matters. And so what we try to help the developers work with is we create iPods for them. We create gyms that are like really beautiful, really cool, and people love them. So it's that kind of mindset.
Yeah. And it's just, I wish, going back to, people that have gyms, et cetera. I remember I had an experience once where I had a prospect, I'm not going to name names or anything, that came to me, and we were talking about giving him a whole new experience. And he's like, why don't you just do what you do for every one of your gyms? And I feel like the market, very similar to what you said with those three models, it's very similar to the online presence as well. You have a lot of these companies that come in and say, oh, we follow these things. There's nothing wrong with processes by any means, but it's how do we make things different? How do we position you in a way where you can reach an audience that that is your culture, is your kind of your family, and so going back to that a little bit, with all of the gym owners and the athletic individuals that you have worked with, you being one yourself, I am one myself, what do you think, kind of working with these CEOs and these business owners, what do you think separates them from, we'll say, other business owners in general?
Easy. It's a mindset. It's a marketing mindset. There's a competitive strain in their mind where they know they're shrewd. They know what everybody's doing. Without me defining it, they know what everybody's doing. Those three styles I talked about. And they say, I don't want to be in that lane. I want to do something entirely different than everybody else. Not only that, the people that I'm working with are coming up with kind of new modalities. It's not just a gym with treadmills and fitness weight equipment in there. So I'm working with different people that are creating new fitness models. And it's really exciting because if you're creating this new fitness model, you want to design a concept and a marketing, what you do in the marketing plan together that helps you be a marketplace differentiator. Mm-hmm, so it's sort of like what you're talking about, your followers, it's almost, we're talking the same language. Yours is digital, mine is physical and visual.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mine's visual too, from an online perspective or branding perspective. Because like you said, you usually, and we've talked about this before, part of your process is kind of going back and looking at their existing branding. And if they don't have branding, then what do you usually say to these clients if they don't have a brand to work on when you kind of work on their gym experience?
Yeah, well, typically the people that are coming to me, because I'm kind of an outlier.
Hmm.
So if they're coming to me, they know that they're coming to get a brand.
Hmm.
Um, eh, so they see all these other gyms, the legacy gyms, the boutique designs, the amusement arcade gyms, and they know. And here's where I start to take it to the next level: is we help them with the branding and the design. One, we can talk about this in the future, which is color. Most people leave color on the table. It's like, it's just like there's such a loss for gym brands to develop really powerful color schemes in their gyms, and not many people do that. But what I want to talk about is IP, intellectual property. And one of the things that we raise the bar on is all the gyms that we work on and the brands, we help them create unique brand IP, typically architectural elements, finishes, colors, lighting concepts, furniture, reception desk. We do very conceptual branded IP features for their gyms. And why do we do that? Because when a member walks in, they've never seen a reception desk before. They've never seen a gym like this before. Tell me what else you do. And
Hmm.
so the brand IP is something that's really not talked about in the industry. And again, the people that are coming to us have heard me blogging about brand IP, because it's not typically done by most design firms. They do design. They populate the space with nice furniture that matches the flooring, that matches the colors, that matches the walls, that matches the light. That's the gym design. That's the whole interior design strategy is right there. That's the trajectory. Make nice matching colors, furniture, finishes, and lighting that all comes together in a higher or lower degree of sophistication. So that's what we break away from. We don't do that. What we help people do is create brand IP with really innovative design.
Well, and it's funny. I feel like it's the same way with gym equipment. I mean, I feel like I go out there and I, see all the time. Like, and I've worked with a couple of people in the past where they're more B2B, and they're like, oh, we just resell gym equipment for people and we do all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. They can do their own thing, but it's like every time I go in the gym, like, what separates you? Like, I'm seeing the same. Like you said, you kind of help them create new models and new experiences. I'd rather go to a gym where I could do a certain workout differently and more effectively, or something that's a better experience for me, than saying, oh, I know if I go to this one compared to this one, even if they're two separate business and brands, that I'm going to get the same experience, internally.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because one of the things that we try to integrate into the designs that we're doing is what I call, and I talk sometimes philosophically and academically, kinetic energy. So what is that kinetic energy? It's sort of like it possesses, it doesn't move, but the design itself has, you look at it and you see it's angular geometry,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
there's some perspective. And so we create, you see, I'm an artist, Italian. We create these experiences that when you're in there, it's an amplified intellectual, emotional triggers. And so what you're talking about, like, people don't like to work out. That's why there's such a low penetration rate in the
Yeah.
fitness industry, because exercise is hard. A lot of people would rather sit home and not get involved with doing it. So the more that you can motivate people to have fun and like the gym and
Yes.
create a experience, I think like Walt Disney. I believe gyms need to be like destination experiences, the third place after work and home that people love to go, a social environment that people love to be in and make friends and train in a really cool gym. That's my kind of my philosophy.
It's like back to what I said. It's motivation. I think more of these gym owners need to just sit down and say, hey, why am I not getting past this certain plateau in my business? Or why am I not doing this? And I think a lot of it is because they're too ingrained. They're too ingrained on, I see a lot of them, they're just really ingrained on, we just need to bring in more business. We need to bring in more business. And it's like, well, you need to think about the end user and the value that you bring back to your color psychology. Your color psychology. I mean, this is something that we try to talk about a lot too, is the psychology and of color theory. Like, certain colors bring on certain emotions. So many, and not just gyms, companies in general, don't understand the importance of shape and typography, or the different kinds of colors that they use. And I mean, most of them don't even know if the how the eye tricks. But I think, funny enough, we have so many different communication styles. We have hearing, we have visual, we have listening, just to name a couple. Feel, feel, and those are four really big ones. But I feel everyone is so focused on, all gyms are just focused on listening. And that's basically the main thing that they all go into, is they're like, oh, let's just promote listening. They don't promote these other these other 3 or 4 communication styles that are part of the mix. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, when you say listening, you don't mean like the sound system in the gym, or is it just, how do you mean listening?
And there's plenty of ways you could take it, but I always look at it from the marketing perspective. But it's always like, oh, let's just throw out a radio commercial about why my gym.
It's the same voice.
It's the same voice. They don't look at the visual elements or anything like that. Like your experience, they don't come in and go, well, let's really focus on giving all those sensory outputs a way to interact.
Yeah, I also want to talk about, what I call is and let's talk just a little bit about money too, because most firms don't like to talk about money and so on. I'm a firm believer in trying to retain whatever architectural mechanical systems are in an existing building, and just try to focus on what I call the 80-20 rule, which is to invest, theoretically, the greatest proportion of your budget in the design and build out of your reception area, because you want that to be the trigger that seduces the prospects to buy into the brand. And when you focus the most of your investment on the reception area and make it outstanding, theatrical, dramatic, that's going to trigger the prospect's mind. Through the rest of the gym, you don't need to spend as much money in the gym, because what you've done is you've already seduced them to buy into the brand. What you can do is you can take some of the colors and materials and lighting and thread it through the rest of the gym, so it's all united. But the trick is to like a lot of design agencies, they want to design the whole gym, every single square inch of the gym. Well, why do they want to do that? For their portfolio. Because they want more pictures for the portfolio. You don't need to do that. What you do need to do is tag them and strategically seduce them to buy into your brand in the reception area.
Well, it's very similar. I think it's very similar to the prospects we have come in from the gym side. Is they're always like, oh, let's just focus on the logo, and I always try to tell them, well, that's just part of the brand language. The logo is the 80-20 of everything else, but you need that perspective done correctly. Like you would say with the reception area, you need to put a lot of focus on this, because it brings out the rest of the collateral, or what you would say, the rest of the gym experience.
Yeah, I call that a little bit like brand assets, that's what I call it. So what are your brand assets?
Brand assets is what we call it too. I was just kind of.
Yeah. But I'm coming from the design side, so I can see the migration between what you're doing and what we're doing. And, that's your logo. So let's take your logo, for example. When we develop a gym, we almost reverse engineer the design from the logo.
Mm-hmm.
So if the logo has whatever geometry it is, we've just done this now. We're doing a project in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, and the client's logo is blue and yellow, and it's a big lion's head. And the whole gym was reverse engineered back from that with that color scheme. And that theme is integrated through the whole gym. So his marketing collateral, his taglines, his branding, his social media will all have sort of collateral marketing
brand language.
Language that supports the brand. Yeah, it's really cool. We're even taking the fitness equipment and we're powder coating them blue and yellow, but beautiful, like a high-end automotive finish. So
Nice. That's kind
yeah,
of cool.
really nice. Blue and yellow, but like powder blue and canary yellow. Really nice, but sophisticated, not gaudy. And let's talk color for a second. I uh, lost my audio, my video here for a second. Sorry, followers, but let's talk color for a second. There's what's called the color wheel. It's a round circle. It's funny. I'm planning to do a blog post on that shortly. The color wheel shows all the colors in the rainbow. And there's a relationship between the colors on the color wheel. It was invented by Isaac Newton, by the way. And so there's blue and yellow and pink and orange and green. All the colors of the rainbow are there, but there's relationships on the color wheel. Relationships on colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, and relationship the colors that are next to each other. What's the story? Planet Fitness. When Planet Fitness first came onto the scene, people loathed their color scheme, the purple and yellow. And I was like, that's brilliant. That was a brilliant marketing logo color scheme because, as you know, purple and yellow are called complementary colors. They're
Mhm.
opposite each other on the color wheel. So what they do, purple is a little bright, the yellow is a little bright, but when you put them together, sort of physiologically, they cancel each other out. Not only that, the colors themselves are a little garish, if that's the right word, unsophisticated. Well, who's Planet Fitness's customers? They're not seasoned pros. They're new people who are intimidated. They want to feel safe. So they created this color scheme that let me use for just for argument's sake, a juvenile color scheme where people feel safe to train in. So color is so important and people are leaving it on the table. Do you understand the relationship between the purple and yellow and the genius of that marketing by Planet Fitness?
Yeah. And it was, I actually talked about this with a vendor, not with a vendor, but with one of my clients a few months ago, because we were going through our brand audit when we were kind of going through their voice and their tone and their color schemes and all that nifty stuff. And we kind of showcased Planet Fitness and use them as an example of why they hit a certain market and how the color schemes and all that stuff really took effect of who their market was. Because yes, you're right. The color blue, for instance, it has that kind of, how do you explain it? It has more of that. I'm not going to say health, but it has more of that calming effect.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
tranquil. Yeah,
Tranquil
exactly.
effect.
Yeah.
And so yes, colors play a huge part. And something that I see commodity in the industry, is you and I have ranted about before, is so many of these gyms go with just like reds, especially the sports related ones.
Black and red.
Yeah, black and red.
how many how many times are you going to do black and red or gray and red? Right now you can probably count 5 brands that do that. Well, why do they do that? Well, the other guys did that. That telegraphs a 1970s, 80s gym aesthetic. I think that's what they were doing back in the 70s in the Arnold days. And so it's a holdover, so obsolete, so antiquated. And when you use that, you look like another black and red gym brand. And you look like every other black and red gym brand.
Well, and what's funny is if they just did a little bit more exploration, they don't necessarily have to go away from, we'll just say simply black and red, but it's very similar to our brand. We have a red aesthetic, we have a tan aesthetic, and we have a blackish grayish aesthetic, but it's not the main hues of those colors. And so I think it's what's important with what you're saying is it's not necessarily going with black and red, but what are your secondary colors? What kind
secondary
of you put with that color that can really emphasize and separate you out?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a great example. It's secondary, tertiary, quaternary, pentacary. In other words, I lost my thought process here. It's like you can do the black and gray and red, but there's 3 zillion reds that you could use. So, for example, the blue gym above there, that blue gym up above there, I use 7 blues just on the training floor, all different kinds of blues. And so I think that's the thing, is that there's just like this, how do I say it? creative bankruptcy. I don't know how better way to say that. I mean, that's a great expression. Creative bankruptcy is that people are just so stuck in this little narrow lane when you need the courage to stretch and do it differently. And, you don't get growth you don't win on defense. You win on offense. And so that's my philosophy. You're going to build a freaking gym. Don't do a safe gym that's like everybody else, a little bit better, but a little bit different. Be way out in front of everybody else.
Well, and I think, and not to get too far into the different, I'm not going to say gym models, but the different business mindset when you growth periods in a business. I think a lot of gyms, I think when they're, under $250,000 a year, their first thought process is, I need to bring in more business. So do you see a lot of starter gyms, or do you see a lot of gyms that have reached, like, let's say, that 750 or higher, where they really start realizing, all right, now's the time when I need to really invest?
I'm seeing both. Yeah. I'm seeing both, but it's only the 1%ers.
Yeah.
I'm seeing both, but I've got new people coming in, starting new brands, and I've got some really seasoned gym developers. I can't say names that I'm working with, doing like really, again, it's all innovative. It's breaking away from what I call the scrum, SCRUM, which is what everybody else is doing. And I want to, so hold that thought, but I want to back up a little bit about logos and colors. And we talked a little bit about the genius of the Planet Fitness, the purple and yellow. And then we talked about, if you're going to do red and gray, then do 10 different versions of grays and reds, and then it just doesn't look like gray and red. Mm-hmm. So there's ways to exploit the color scheme. But going back to Planet Fitness, and I talk about re-engineering design, not only was the purple and yellow genius, but the logo of the gear. Remember the gear, the Planet Fitness gear? Yeah. It had this big gear. They even did some of those overhead things over the reception desk with the gear. Well, what is that? And I figured, another stroke of genius. The gear was, if you look at it, symbolic of what was called a tinker toy.
Yeah.
There was a toy set that had like these little gears and spokes and things that you put together. You see the psychology of marketing in the fitness industry? That was a brilliant stroke of genius, because not only did you give them a color scheme that's almost, and again, I use the word juvenile just to explain, because it was more making people feel safe and simple and fun, is that they had a logo that was a gear that also appealed to the inner child in people. So where I'm going with this is, if you're just looking at whatever your competitors are doing on either one of those three categories I'm talking about, and you decide to do a version of that, add a little something different, change a little something, you're still doing the same thing. It's better sameness. That's, I think, one of the reasons Planet Fitness was so successful. It was such a deviation from what the interior industry was doing, because it was all, back then, it was Powerhouse Gym, World Gym, Gold's Gym. Those were like the big players, and Planet Fitness came out. And I know a lot of gyms that closed because of Planet Fitness.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because if you look at it from a cohesiveness and a brand consistency perspective and a brand language perspective, a lot of people just look at the tangibles. So they do come out and they may say, let's just focus on the way the gym looks and the way the logo looks, or the website, things of that nature. But back to what you originally said with the gears, if you kind of look into the research they have done in their target market, with everything down to the events that they provide, to their actual, how they structure their memberships, it shows you that the Tinker Toys and what you said, and that really got to me, because it was like, oh, not just that, but the inner child. It's bringing in a certain type of clientele, a certain type of audience, and they have figured out how to position themselves in a way where they're like, we're trying to bring in this audience, and these are the types of memberships and the types of costs that will work really well with that. So I'm just, what I'm trying to say here to the audience is more so just, hey, like it affects much more those small things, those intangible things that you were mentioning, like the tinker toy and bringing the inner child, it affects so much more than just, hey, there's a gear up in the gym.
Yeah, that what you're talking about is going back to what we talked about was brand assets. The
Mhm.
lunk alarm.
Yeah. Yes.
The pizza nights.
The pizza night. And I was going to say pizza nights, but I didn't want to go too far into that. But yeah, down to the weights that the amount of the size of weights they do, like
Right,
all that
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah. And even, and what was really good, and listen, your followers, please pay attention. What I'm talking about is your strategy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you strategize your brand so you're different than everyone else? Think about Planet Fitness's press releases that got people out of their mind crazy arguing. They did all these things. They showed people falling off treadmills and doing stupid things, and the lunk alarms and bodybuilders going into the gym, condescending. And what ended up happening, so brilliant, is it created controversy and brought eyes onto the brand. So what I'm arguing and what you offer, Zach, and what I do is that we're trying to help you create your own lane, not like Planet Fitness, but your own lane. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, and if we wanted to take it out of the examples of gyms in general and go to, like, let's say sportswear, for instance, you can look at, and this is just an example for gym owners to kind of see how they have to position themselves, especially since there's so many large competitors out there. You look at, like Lululemon they're the ones that came out with the term athleisure wear, because they said, hey, let's come up with this. Let's position ourselves in a way where we can have athlete wear. They made up a term and they went with it, and it helped them take away market share from these other large companies. But long story short, they were able to define themselves as something unique and different because of this. And there's much more to it than that, of course, but that's just a good example of why it's so important for these gyms that want to stand out. Like, hey, like, it's not just about the tangibles, just going out there and just saying, oh, we here's our checklist set of items. It's like, we need to go out there and we need to, if we want to make an impact. And back to my first question of what makes athletic individuals and entrepreneurs so good at business is because they have that grit and that perseverance. Like we said, they want to compete. They want something different. They want something unique. And so they just have that much more power to be able to create something and make that legacy.
Yeah. Well, fast forward 20 and 21. Fast forward 20 and 21. What was the rhetoric everywhere? Gyms are dead.
Yep.
Planet Fitness, Mirror, virtual streaming. So when that got heavy, when it first got heavy, I watched it for 2 or 3 months, and I came out with a post. Where I'm going with this is I came out with a post on LinkedIn where my big following is, and I said, this is all rhetoric. I said, brick and mortar gyms are going to come back bigger and stronger than you can possibly imagine. And this is all rhetoric paid by Fifth Avenue advertising agencies to promote digital fitness, online streaming fitness, AI, all the connected fitness. I said, you watch in 2 years when all this implodes, brick and mortar is going to come back stronger than ever. How many articles were that gyms are dead? You're going to have to do streaming. You're going to have to buy our app. You're going to have to buy our wearable. I'm like, really? Do you really believe that? So where I'm coming from is, I've got this Italian sort of like fight in me. As like, I don't buy what anybody tells me. I think for myself what has to happen. And my feeling is when this was starting to happen, I was listening to the owners of my gyms, and they said that the members are sick and tired of streaming fitness in their homes, trapped in their bedrooms, and they want their gyms back. And where are we now? It looks like not only have we escalated and gone beyond what we were prior to lockdown. It just seems to be growing exponentially. And where's all this connected fitness? It's like you barely hear it now. I had 25,000 responses, views, 600 responses to my argument that fitness was coming back and it was going to be bigger than ever. And I can't say, I'm not patting myself on the back, but it was like, you determine what your future is. I don't let the media tell me what to do or what the fitness magazines do. I don't even look at them. I've abandoned looking at all those things because they're going to soil your mind. They're going to sabotage your strategy. And so what I'm all talking about is marketplace, a fierce competitiveness to do something different on your own.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I think we had the same thing back in 2013. I think during the last situation from an online perspective, I remember at the time we were working with a large printing company as a partner, and they were all worried, oh, printing's dying, everything's going digital. And I was like, you know what? Printing's not dead. What's going to happen is printing's going to come back, and it's then going to be a luxury. It's going to be a luxury. Only people that are going to use it are the people that know how important it is. And so it's actually going to bring more quality to printing. And yes, we still have a lot of direct mail pieces, and you get a lot of that, especially from the gyms. You get them constantly when you move in. But it brought in a lot of luxury. So people started using print as more of a luxury standpoint. And so they put more quality in it. And I think that's the same thing happening in the commercial real estate situation. Is I feel the same way as you, not just from a gym, but from a location standpoint. Yes, I understand that there's remote workers. I understand that, but there's also the sense of, hey, like collaboration and teamwork and being somewhere. I know, I've always had thoughts about turning my garage into a gym because, I have 2 young children and I just don't have time as much anymore. But I personally was like, no, like, I love going to the gym. That's right. My experience. It's my time out of the house, and having a gym like the ones you design and develop, I think it would just make me want to go even more.
Yeah. We should tell your followers where to find me, basically on Instagram.
Yeah, definitely. Why don't you tell everyone? We could chat all day. I agree. We're getting close to the end of this podcast. Yeah. So why don't you just tell everyone where you're at and where they can find you?
It's very simple. I have an Instagram page, and my handle is Gym Designer, one word, Gym Designer. And as soon as you open up the page, you're going to see so many beautiful colors and concepts that you haven't seen before. And that closes my argument of why we do what we do.
Beautiful, beautiful. So again, I'd like to welcome you to everyone to another episode of the Brand Power Analysis. These episodes, go on the air once a month, and we also have other content on our creative channel. So I will send you this stuff as well so that you can kind of use it. So, but I appreciate you being on the podcast, and I look forward to our continued collaborations in the future.
Yeah, thank you. And, if any of your listeners want to reach me, they can contact you. But thank you for having me on. I'm very passionate. You could see my passion. But I have a pulse on this. I know what's going on. I know where it's headed. So
wisdom. Yeah, is what I like to call it, the wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the fitness industry because the whole fitness industry is just going to keep getting stronger and stronger. Watch.
That's beautiful. It. Beautiful. Well, again, thank you for being on.
Okay.